Why did underground comics lack academic recognition? Imagine a world where comic books are not just for kids but are a bold form of art that challenges society. That's what underground comics did in the late 1960s. They burst onto the scene with raw, unfiltered stories and vivid, often shocking artwork. But despite their influence on art, music, and literature, they rarely got the respect from scholars or universities. So why was that? Let's find out. First, underground comics were created outside the mainstream publishing world. They were often printed in small runs by independent presses or even homemade by the artists themselves. This made them hard to find in libraries or bookstores that followed traditional standards. They also rejected the strict rules of the Comics Code Authority, which was set up in 1950 to keep comics wholesome. This could ban anything considered obscene, violent, or controversial. Underground comics openly defied those rules, showing drug use, sexuality, and political protests. Because of this, critics and academics saw them as lowbrow or vulgar. They were labeled as rebellious or even obscene, not as serious art or literature. Universities and libraries preferred to focus on established art forms like painting, sculpture, or classic literature. They didn't see underground comics as part of the academic canon. Also, the creators embraced a do-it-yourself attitude. They often worked in small groups or alone, without the backing of big publishers. This made their work seem more like countercultural expression than serious art. Another reason is that underground comics reflected the turbulent social changes of the 1960s. They captured protests against the Vietnam War, civil rights struggles, and a general questioning of authority. Their style was often rough and experimental, which didn't fit the polished standards of academic art. Because they were so tied to the youth and protest movements, many scholars saw them as fleeting trends rather than lasting cultural artifacts. Over time, though, underground comics have gained recognition. Today, they are studied as part of the history of popular culture and visual arts. But during their peak, their explicit content, rebellious attitude, and unconventional distribution kept them on the fringes of academic respectability. It took decades for the art world and scholars to see their true influence on modern art, music, and literature.